Good morning, everybody. Oh gosh, it's such a beautiful day out already. And I just wanted to hop on before I got into the stream of life this morning. I've got a lot of exciting things happening today. So I just wanted to talk really quick about this idea that we think about, oh, I want to get healthier. A lot of times when people set their New Year's resolutions, they are like, oh, I'm gonna be healthy this year. And so that really means, like, to them, I think restrictive eating and exercising, like going to the gym, right, getting on the treadmill. But there are so many other ways to improve your health that aren't taking away or kind of like forcing yourself into habits that aren't necessarily easy for you or don't come naturally to you. So one of the things I want to talk about today is how much stress impacts our health. And stress is really something that, in our society, we're encountering at a really high level. It used to be, of course, this kind of the cliche, but the idea was that we would be stressed out right when we were running from a lion or a tiger, and we would get into that fight or flight response, and then we would go relax and be able to rest and digest and get into the relaxation response. But now, today, we're kind of in this heightened stress response all the time. And so, to me, one of the very first things I had to do, or for myself, to start being healthier was to just shift out of that stress response over and over and over again. And so some of you have heard a little bit about my story when I was super burnt out and working more than full time and in a lot of pain because of my, I have several herniated discs in my back and I have some autoimmune conditions. I was just really miserable, and all I was able to do was go to work and then come home and get in bed. At that point, I was also like 70 pounds heavier than I am now. And the first thing I did wasn't going on a diet. The first thing I did, thankfully, through kind of serendipitous situations, was I learned more about deep breathing. And I simply just breathed really deeply in a way that stimulated my vagus nerve 3 times a day. And I started with that. And then I started going to acupuncture every single week. And that really helped, again, shift out of that constant stress response and into the relaxation response. Once I was able to do that, I kind of calmed my system down. And then I started having more energy for other things. And of course, ultimately I did make some changes in diet. I eat, a lot more vegetables than I used to. For me, I learned that I am gluten intolerant and egg intolerant. So through experimentation, I've learned it's not worth it for me to eat those foods. So I avoid them. But that wasn't the first thing I did, and it wasn't the thing that made the biggest difference in my overall health. For me, the first and most important thing was reducing my stress response. Another thing that I see a lot with my clients, in addition to, constant high level of stress and that being in that stress response, is a lack of sleep. And so they're coming to me saying, I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I don't feel well. And a lot of times they think it's their fault because they believe that they, did not get enough. They're not eating well enough, right? It's their fault because they ate potato chips last night. But actually, a lot of times they're literally not getting enough sleep. They've got kiddos at home, or they have insomnia, or they're, have a job where they have to get up at 4 a.m. to make it across town in the commute. So, that's one of the areas that has a huge impact in health and weight as well. So, and, I'm saying weight mainly because most of the people who come to me are struggling with weight issues, but, a lot of people equate weight and health. I personally don't really. I think it's more of a symptom, right? Extra weight is a symptom of other things going on with our body. So to me, being thin doesn't necessarily mean being happy or healthy. But I'll talk about it for, I bring it up just because my clients do, they're looking for some help with that. So anyway, just simply getting enough sleep or improving the quality of your sleep can make a huge difference in your health and well-being as well. So, for some people, that means going to bed earlier. It means taking the TV out of your room or not having a TV or getting rid of cable. For some people, it means using those orange glasses, which mine are in my bedroom right now, but have those orange, blue light blocking sunglasses. And they're actually, mine are safety glasses. They're Uvex. They cost $10. So ideally, we'd be putting them on, like 8 o'clock at night, a couple of hours before bed, and filtering out all the blue light that we're exposed to, dimming our screens, not drinking caffeine late in the day if you're sensitive to caffeine. So there's so many different ways that you can, sorry, I'm getting notifications. Hi, everybody who's popping on. So there's so many different ways that you can actually be healthy and improve your health that isn't related to restricting what you're eating, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to feel like this, like rigid, I got to make this happen. It can feel as gentle as taking deep breaths 3 times a day intentionally. And I had to set an alarm on my phone in order to slow down enough to take those 3 deep breaths, or to do that deep breathing 3 times. It was more than 3 in a day, but 3 times I would sit there and breathe for a few minutes in a way that stimulated my vagus nerve. The thing about stimulating your vagus nerve is that you actually, when you stimulate your vagus nerve, it starts up here and it goes into your throat and into your chest and into your abdomen, and for women, even down into your cervix. And so when you breathe deeply into your diaphragm and breathe in or breathe out with a vibrational sound, you stimulate it. And by doing that, you actually have this cascade of things that happen. So you get into the relaxation response, but also you reduce your stress hormones and increase your feel-good hormones. So by kind of breaking out of that cycle of that stress response, your body is getting a lot of the feel-good hormones that it needs, and you're reducing cortisol and all of these other stress hormones that actually can cause you to gain weight and cause you to have trouble sleeping, cause you to crave carbohydrates. So I guess what I'm saying today is being healthy doesn't mean restrictive eating, right? It doesn't have to mean that you, eat perfectly for the rest of your life. And in fact, what I found is that that's not possible, and it sets us up for failure. And so making these gentle changes that maybe feel small but have a huge impact can be a lot more helpful. All right, well, I'm going to go enjoy the sunshine, and I'm feeling really productive today, so fingers crossed on that. And then I'm going to go out with some wonderful women who are also in health and wellness and professionals, so it's going to be wonderful. Have a wonderful day, too. Bye-bye.